When I was a kid, we didn't mix flowers and vegetables. Vegetables went in the garden in neat rows that we had to hoe and irrigate. Flowers belonged in the landscape next to the house in order to make everything look pretty. Today, I think more about viewing my garden as an ecosystem with vegetables, fruits, and lots of flowers drawing in beneficial insects. Insects, especially bees and butterflies, are critical for pollination and production. Good pollination means more fruits. Hi, I'm Amy. Welcome to my channel where I talk about organic gardening, wildlife conservation, and environmental education. You can check out my books on Amazon. As gardeners, we usually spend a lot of time and effort thinking about how to control or kill insect populations. After all, insects eat our crops, spread disease, and in general are viewed as the enemy. However, insects such as bees and butterflies are allies and important pollinators. The best plants are those native to our region. These perennials have developed along with local insects. Try to look for the original species and avoid cultivars as they might not produce as much pollen. Read seed or plant labels to make sure you are not getting a hybrid. It may use the word hybrid or the letter X. Hybrids don't produce quality pollen. Let's look at five species found in zones 5 and 6 that are great to plant in and around your vegetables. All these varieties grow well from direct sowing in the garden, so won't strain your budget. New England aster is native to the eastern and central United States. There are many cultivars, so look for this one specifically. Asters draw in a variety of wild bees and butterflies. They thrive in cool, moist areas and do well in zone 5 in the sun or partial shade. Zone 6 folks should try to put them in an area that gets morning sun and afternoon shade. They have a tendency to get leggy, but you can pinch back the tops to promote fullness. Asters are a late bloomer and typically flower at the end of summer into the fall. This is great for butterflies who are getting ready to migrate or hibernate. They also brighten up your garden with fresh flowers when others are going to seed. Plant asters after the last frost on top of moist soil. I sow about 3 inches apart because they don't have great germination rates. They need light to germinate. Press them gently into the soil. I typically cover the seeds with garden fabric to protect them from birds. There are lots of varieties of rudbeckia, like these black-eyed Susans. They make great cut flowers. Black-eyed Susans attract many beneficial insects and they just look so happy and pretty. It is a larval host to several checker spot butterfly species as well. The seeds also draw in birds like goldfinches. Black-eyed Susans are easy to grow from seed. They need full sun. Sow the seeds about 6 weeks before the average last frost. Moisten the soil and then sprinkle seeds on top because they also need light to germinate. They do need a chill period, so if you are planting them later in the season, stick the seeds in the refrigerator for about a month. Echinacea or coneflower serves double duty as a popular herbal medicine traditionally used among Native Americans. A hardy perennial, it gets quite tall, up to 4 feet, so plant it along the back border. They want to be in full sun with well draining soil, perfect for a raised bed. Echinacea purpurea is a great variety to grow. They need a bit of space, so seed them 12 inches apart. They also need a cold period to germinate, so seed them 4 weeks before the last frost or put them in the refrigerator for a month. Plant them 1/4 of an inch deep. They can take up to 3 weeks to germinate, so be patient and keep the soil moist but not wet. The roots and flowers are used in teas and tinctures. They also make pretty dried flowers. If you let them go to seed, they will attract American goldfinches, which incidentally also eat aphids. One caution: Ignatia can cause an allergic reaction in those who are allergic to ragweed. Do you have a shady spot? You may have noticed wild geranium growing along a wooded trail in the spring. They are native throughout eastern forests and used medicinally by Native Americans to treat diarrhea, open sores, and wounds. The seeds need a longer cold period, so sow seeds in late fall or winter. They prefer a rich soil with lots of aged compost and often don't flower till their second season. Deer don't like this plant, so it can be a good replacement for hostas. Unlike the other flowers, little bluestem is a grass, but it does produce tiny flowers in fall. It's common throughout the Midwest and Great Plains states and is the state plant for Nebraska and Kansas. Little bluestem is a popular landscape plant. It hosts the larvae of many butterfly and moth species and provides shelter for our native bees. I think sometimes we forget that we can easily grow these landscaping style plants from seeds. Little bluestem looks great in beds with echinacea and black eyed Susans. It likes well drained soil and full sun, and for my zone 6 friends, it will tolerate heavy clay. One warning is deers do like it. Plant seeds 1/4 an inch deep and firm soil around them. Keep them moist their first year, and then they should become very drought resistant. Native bees are endangered in many areas. They have evolved along with our native plants, including squashes and melons, so providing flowers to support their health is a win win. Thanks for watching, and have a fabulous sunny day.